Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Carl and Rick Talk Risk. Rick, how's it going?
Yo, how's it going?
Hey.
It's a
Um,
bad hair day here, so got my hair in a ponytail.
I'm just happy I'm
Actually, every
inside.
day's a bad hair day, but today's an especially bad hair day.
Of course, yeah. Some could be worse. I understand, Rick. I used
No,
a
you
bit
don't.
too
You
much.
use $50 of hair product on your hair every
You
morning.
know,
So,
I never use product, but when it gets too long that I can't handle it anymore, there's product in my hair today. So yeah, I definitely don't spend $50, Rick. Come on. I'm fire. You think I'd spend that much? Yeah, but we should talk about fire again one day, but maybe not today. For you who don't know, that's financial independence, retire early. One of my pet obsessions for a while that Rick likes to poke me with every once in a while.
it's called don't get married and don't have kids. I mean,
Yeah,
shit,
simple.
it's pretty simple there.
Yeah. Well, Rick, let's talk about some. We're not allowed to talk about AI. Okay, first of all, let's put some let's ring fence this conversation. No AI talk. We promised. So a lot of and um, a, the past couple of teams I've worked with, past few companies in Canada and the US, there's been a wave of something that I think wasn't around before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but stress leave. Yeah, I've had you know members of my team away for quite long periods of time dealing with stress. Recovering. Not people I was very very close with, so I can't say any more. But it really happens more often, and happens to risk teams. We are not immune to the phenomenon. Yeah, it could be part of it could come from COVID. I don't really want to get into too much where it comes from, but I think part of it is risk. Any team can feel a little stretched thin and low on ideas, low on things to keep you excited and moving forward, and that's not a good place to be for a risk team, right? So let's talk a little bit today about where the risk teams go for new ideas, for creativity, for a strategic direction that's fun, that keeps people interested. Let me start with one point, and then maybe I'll see what you like or dislike about this topic idea. One depends a lot on a manager. Um, from my experience, it almost doesn't matter who the personalities are in the team. When you have an uninspiring manager or a manager who's not taking up that, captain of the ship role and really trying to um, make work a stimulating environment where ideas come, they're encouraged. You get to explore new things and not just do repetitive work all the time. It's really hard to overcome that. Uh, but when on the flip side, when you have a manager, I'm thinking back to an experience in the States when I was working at an asset manager there. When you have a manager who says, "Hey, Friday afternoons, that's your time. I want you to work on something completely different from your everyday work that could in the future be somewhat useful, but doesn't have to be, right? No requirements, open playing field. Go do something interesting." That's really exciting. You really you can feel it in your mindset. You go to that task and you think, wow, like what I could take this in any direction. And I mean, you can guess this, but the end result of that particular um, um, you know task schedule was that we really did get some really interesting ideas that were really beneficial to the team after that. And guess what? The team environment was improved because people were excited. They wanted to talk to each other. They were like, "Hey, you know about this? Would you teach me this so that I could get this done in this project I'm working on?" Um, and that comes from a manager. I'm not saying it all depends on a manager, but you need a good one. What do you think?
Uh, I have to admit, I'm a little off guard here. I'm not 100% sure what to say, which might lead to celebrating amongst our listeners. But I want to back up for a second. Obviously we are different generations, um, and stress has always existed.
Hmm.
Uh, but having said that, and just from my work in consulting and also my work in academia, it is fundamentally different than when I started way back when. Um, I don't think it's necessarily that stress was hidden, although undoubtedly a lot of the stress was hidden back in the day. You rarely talked about burnout, or at least you sure as heck didn't admit it as widely as you do. So stress has become normalized. Mental health has become normalized. Um, at the risk of getting hate mail on this, I think the normalization of stress and the normalization of mental health is actually a two-edged sword. It's good that it's absolutely good that it doesn't have to be hidden or de-emphasized or whatever. It's good that uh, it is normalized, but
Hmm.
that also comes, I believe, perhaps wrongly, and I'm highly confident that there's, well, I actually highly confident, that's an understatement. It's a definite fact that there are gazillion people that know for a fact more about this. But the normalization, in my belief, comes with a cost in that at times, in our desire to be like everyone else, we actually get stressed if we don't feel stressed.
Yeah.
um, Being a university prof, it's dramatic the change that we've seen.
Hmm.
Just dramatic the change that we've seen in the last 5 years. Um, uh, and it's undeniable that COVID in large part played a role in that. I don't know
Gotcha.
exactly how or why, but or maybe it was just spurious correlation, but
Hmm.
something snapped. Um, I I think that in um, I, I'm going to go and I'm going to beat an old horse once yet again. Okay, a man with a hammer, everything is a nail.
Hmm.
I actually think that we are now in this AI generation trying to label everything as something that can be solved with a complicated using systems thinking approach with AI or our intelligence. And in reality, most of the important issues are complex, again, using the systems definition. That
Yeah.
creates a cognitive dissonance, which creates stress.
Yeah.
The second part is if we are relying upon our education and relying upon our expertise in dealing with complicated systems, that creates stress because it's pretty darn obvious that AI trumps your butt on something that is complicated.
Hmm.
I think that managers in a team actually may be totally irrelevant when it comes to stress. I truly believe that. I believe that it could be the lowliest member that's creating all the stress, or it could be the lowliest member or the almost invisible member who actually alleviates all the stress and melts it away.
Hmm.
Having said that, I think that stress does in large part come from not having ideas, not having a purpose.
Yeah.
And so having a purpose, having an idea, having the excitement of being willing to try things out. That's the other thing. In our world, we're not allowed to make mistakes anymore. Making mistakes is, that's the fun part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Breaking things is the fun part.
Yeah. Tell me about
Not
it.
making mistakes, that's the scary part. That's the stressful part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that there's nice, neat solutions to this.
Yeah. 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 And don't you think, we were talking about risk appetite and risk tolerance earlier. You love quizzing me on these definitions.
Well, I had to
Um,
prep my exam for my students somehow.
that's true. Don't you
That's
think
causing
that's,
me stress. How to create an
I know.
exam on risk management that's not going to be too stressful for students? That's
Yeah.
creating me stress.
Yeah. Well, you're in a challenging spot because there there is good stress. Good
Oh,
stress is what I experienced this weekend, having to tear out the silicon and put it back in. It was just beyond my capabilities. That's a good thing because I had to stretch myself. I had to make some calls. I had to watch some YouTube videos. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it at some point. Actually, still not sure I did it right. But like that's good stress because there was a certain alignment between my capabilities and the task at hand, just like the students in your exam. Good stress is sitting in the classroom feeling, oh shit, I don't know if I can do this, and then you go ahead and do it, and you come up with a decent grade. There's got to be a mismatch, otherwise life is comfortable and easy, and we never learn anything, right? But stress, at least one form of bad stress, is a huge mismatch, right? Where you don't even know what class you're in, and the professor puts an exam on the table. That's the bad type of stress. So there's some kind of, you know,
oh, that going to the exam naked and not having read the book.
or
Oh,
that, yeah.
I have that stress about 4 nights out of 5 when I go
Yeah,
to
what's that?
sleep.
Like, yeah, exactly. One of the scariest dreams you could have, or talking in public. Um, but and that's where I agree with what you say, that manage is not important, because handing that responsibility over to somebody else to figure out where your level is and what kind of tasks you should take on so that you're creating good stress, is silly. You should figure it out yourself. You should
Yeah, but
volunteer for things.
this is what ticks me off. You can say that, and I can't. If I say
What?
that, if I say take accountability of your stress and figure it
Uh,
out, rather than putting the responsibility on the system or manager or the team
yeah,
or the organization to fix your stress, I get in trouble. You can say it and it sounds, rational. I say it and it sounds like some form of extreme, you know, whatever.
yeah. No, I get that, but
But
well,
having said that, all joking aside, self accountability,
hmm,
I believe, is much harder today. First off, I do believe,
hmm,
being dead serious, and I'm not trying to minimize things, and we all need a helping hand at times. Okay. So I'm painting things as black and white. So I realize that they're fully gray.
yeah,
We all need a hand at times, or more times, and we all need a push. We all need a team at times, but ultimately, stress comes down to self accountability, self responsibility, and self correction. But that's very hard to do in our social media world, where we've got these influencers with supposedly absolutely perfect lives,
yeah, yeah,
um, uh, that even though that they spent 7 hours to create that 20-minute podcast, you still say, why can't we do that? And, this sounds silly, but that's kind of why I like our totally unfiltered, unedited um, podcast. Is it's very hard to have self accountability when what the world bombards you with is perfectly, highly curated, highly edited um, uh,
Yeah.
images of
Yeah.
perfection.
Yeah. That you can never live up to, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
that that really creates a lot of bad stress. Yeah.
And we see that in the workplace. Like every day, there's one info provider from what used to be, I thought, a respectable business magazine that's telling me these 7 steps to management nirvana. You know, XYZ immediately cured all the world's problems with this one simple statement. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
it's gotten to the point of ridicule. And of course, AI is more than happy to pump this crap out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. That is different. That is a challenge that young people have to face more than
It's a
before.
challenge
That's
old people have to face.
yeah,
Good,
it is. It
good
is.
God, everyone my age is running 4 marathons a week and,
Yeah.
pumping out 17 A+ journal articles and,
Yeah. But
you
you
know,
but you
dating,
have yeah.
models and superstars and going to 22 parties around
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. Well, we yeah, it's like the world before and the world after, right? Like I miss as a editor at Intelligent Risk. I miss spelling mistakes. I haven't seen a spelling mistake in so long, Rick. It's like I'm I'm craving for like a human written submission that can make mistakes. It'd be nice.
I'll send you a
The
copy of
world
my
before.
exam. You can edit it for me.
Yeah, that's very true.
But also, all joking aside, continuing on with this form, this is something that very few risk departments are looking. I think
hmm,
every risk department is looking at stress and burnout. Okay, certainly in the university context,
yeah,
uh, looking at student stress at a minimum, student mental health is a huge issue. Huge
yeah,
issue. Okay. Um, uh, and, but what's causing the stress? And that's something that I see very few risk articles about, very few
hmm,
risk research. And mental health going forward, in both senses of risk, I risk is something bad happening or risk is uncertainty, I believe is huge.
yeah,
Most things I believe in the old saying, just when you think it's a trend, you find out it's a cycle.
hmm,
This one might not be a cycle.
yeah,
I hope it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Um, what would you tell a risk manager who thinks she's on the verge of stress leave? I'm kind of curious. I'm pondering myself what I would think. Yeah,
Like like for me, it's simple. Diversions.
hmm,
Um, you know, Music can cure 99% of my moods.
hmm,
Okay. Um, Cognitive diversity, again, my screwdriver to my hammer.
hmm,
Uh, that's huge.
yeah,
Go do something that you've never, ever, ever, ever done before,
yeah, yeah.
or
Change.
read something that you've never, ever, ever done before.
Yeah,
Uh, Third, I like reading biographies because whenever I feel like I am really messed up, and you read a biography of someone that you admire, inevitably you'll find out that, yeah, they too went through cycles of where they felt really messed up.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I I I read Margaret Thatcher's biography. It's my favorite biography I've ever written. And I remember, I don't think you get this in every biography, but hers was an autobiography. Sorry, should mention that. The amount of self-doubt and question marks about big decisions. But, you contrast that with the authority with which she, announced those decisions. And then you look at her written word about how much doubt and back and forth, and so it's fascinating. So I fully agree with you. Can I jump in with one as well? What can you stop doing? People don't think about that, and that's a huge. I know from my own personality that's a huge source of stress because I like to list things out, and then you all of a sudden you've got 20 things to do, and it's like, they probably don't all need to be done. Definitely don't need to be done today. What can you stop doing? Are there things you do every week that take time out of your schedule that nobody's really reading, nobody's paying attention to? Why are you doing it? Stop doing things that aren't important. I think it's an interesting lens to pick up once in a while and cut from what you're taking care of, and then put more effort into the things that you like and that you're good at and that need to be done.
Again, playing a little bit of a devil's advocate there. I think what's causing a lot of stress is a lot of people, when they think of it in those terms, they realize that actually they could stop doing almost everything that they do.
Oh, yeah. Could be that. But isn't that freeing? Then you got to start thinking about, okay, but how do I fill my time up with things I enjoy and that are good?
Well, first off, for a lot of people, let's be realistic. Uh, just to keep up, not with the Joneses, but to the Smiths, most people are running like mad financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Although I wasn't into the fire lifestyle like you, I still drove a laughably modest car compared to everyone who worked under me.
Right.
And, they made, but, knowing that there's always, if it ever got to the point I could, not that I had, to use my wife's phrase, Rockefeller FU money, but, de facto there was enough that I could walk away and, as in, what was the movie American Beauty, go work at the drive-through window at McDonald's to,
Oh, yeah.
support my wife and family. So stop doing it, sadly, I think is not an option for a lot of people until they change what they believe is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Like we joked about your hair products earlier. For a lot of people, that's essential.
Yeah.
Okay. Having the latest mobile phone is a must have. My phone's so old that whenever it does die and I go in to replace it, they have no idea how to hook it up to the new one.
What is this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, it's also a question if stress leave actually helps, or if it's just a couple of months away and then you come back and all the problems that caused the stress leave are still there. So it really is, yeah, it's something fundamental that
I think
needs
it's
to be
something
addressed.
though, I don't think you and I are qualified to really talk about this, except at the 50,000 foot level. I do
Yeah.
believe, though, that we are qualified to talk about how it is something that risk departments have to formally integrate into their risk planning. I think that you have to uh, uh, do it not only on an organizational level, but also on a societal level. I think, for example, we are both talking before we start the recording about, a well-known state school in the U.S. not assigning grades for the first year. Like
Yeah.
on one level, that is ridiculous. But if that starts
Yeah.
a trend, which it very well might, and by the way, it's not the first school to do something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But that becomes a serious trend. Wow, that has huge implications
Yeah.
for onboarding uh, new hires going forward. Has huge implications for managing onboarding. We're finally waking up as an industry, the economics of what exactly are the second and third effects of Ozempic and the other GLP. What are the second and third order effects of those? There's much bigger second and third order effects in the workplace rather than other than just people missing time
Yeah.
or people being less than effective at work.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Um, yeah, and for the university example, yeah, just taking um, a potential source of stress away doesn't build resilience in those students. Eventually, they will be confronted with grades. You should do something to slowly start to confront them with that fact, and that the grades are part of life, or part of school
Having
life
said
anyway.
that, I think in the age of AI, grades are a whole other issue.
Yeah,
That is something I believe, uh, no exaggeration, that universities must, or at least business schools must fundamentally have a major reorientation, major rethink. We are
yeah,
the equivalent of operating with horse and buggies in the dawn of 1950s.
mm. Is
Okay,
this
we're still in horse and buggy mode.
yeah? Is this because of grade inflation and everybody just getting top
Uh,
grades,
uh,
or
there's great inflation. Again, AI is the monster.
yeah, yeah,
Um, although mental health, I would, or mental, I'm going to say mental skills
mm,
is very quickly number two.
okay,
Um, um,
yeah? That was actually part of the article that I read about this program to get rid of grades in the first semester. Was they want to put quotas on certain grades, so like only 20% of the class could get A's. And I can't remember who gave this opinion, but they were like, "Yeah, well, then everybody's going to get an A minus. What's the difference?"
well,
Which,
the other thing that's coming out um, is we, as university professors, we can only deal with the product that we are given.
mm,
And K-12, you know, whatever metrics or grades you want to give to K-12, that has shifted dramatically and it accelerated during COVID.
yeah,
I don't care what kind of metrics you're using. So we're still working on assuming that students are coming out as they were in 1980. They're not coming out of grade 12 as they were in 1980.
yeah, yeah,
And that's not knocking the students. In many ways, they are far superior. In many ways, they're far inferior. But in almost always, they are different.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, well, Rick, so much for not having a plan and not talking for AI about AI, because we mentioned it several times, and one of our longest episodes ever. So, okay, everybody, I'm curious what you think about this. I'm sure everybody knows somebody that's being on stress leave, so maybe you have some ways of dealing with this that we haven't mentioned. Jump into the comments and let us know. All right, until next time, take care.